Live from KX News, this is Good Day Dakota.
Good morning and welcome to Good Day Dakota. I'm Alicia Huck.
And I'm Josh Menny. Thank you for waking up with us this Wednesday morning. Tuesday, federal judge Boasberg rejected a request by Dakota Access LLC, the company behind the Dakota Access Pipeline, for an emergency order to delay the process of shutting down the pipeline.
That's right. And earlier this week, we spoke with the tribal leaders who say that the ruling was a major victory for their tribe because they argue that the pipeline threatens their drinking water supply, the Missouri River.
In our top story, we hear from economic leaders who tell us what's at stake for North Dakota's oil industry and the state's economy. On Tuesday, the North Dakota Pipeline Authority presented information to Governor Doug Burgum on the economic impact that shuttering the Dakota Access Pipeline will have on the state's economy. If the pipeline is shuttered for a substantial period of time, North Dakota's crude oil will have to be exported by rail car, a slower, more expensive process than pipeline.
Shift their capital to other places where this limitation doesn't exist or this risk doesn't exist, and that shift can become permanent. So the impacts to the state of North Dakota are immediate and severe, but they're also very long-lasting.
North Dakota Pipeline Authority's director, John Kringstead, estimates with the DAPL offline, the state will lose an additional $5 per barrel on top of the $8 loss the state already incurs to export Bakken crude to major markets.
Say it's $41 today, and you'd have to subtract, on average, prior to yesterday's events, about $8 is a typical discount that we would receive here in North Dakota because of the costs and the logistics to get it from North Dakota to that market. So that additional 5 was on top of that 8 that was already kind of structurally fundamental to North Dakota's distance to major markets.
Now, North Dakota Pipeline Authority is working with the state's Attorney General to convince Judge Boasberg that shutting down the Dakota Access Pipeline, even temporarily, is too devastating right now for North Dakota's economy to bear.
So it's imperative that the state of North Dakota not just casually but accurately in the most fulfilling way possible describe for the courts this devastating economic impact it would have not just on oil companies but on schools and roads and water projects and healthcare and everything in North Dakota that are funded by this thing, not to mention the jobs, the companies.
Now, despite oil prices and production down across the state, North Dakota's Industrial Commission ruled Tuesday unprofitable oil will not be classified as economic waste. The decision comes after a hearing in May in which just 3 parties testified out of 45 in support of state intervention. Many landowners and tribal leaders testified that the state should not get involved and that the free market should be allowed to repair itself. After brief discussion, the board unanimously voted to deny the determination of waste.
This is probably the best way to go, and let's let the private sector hammer out some of these things, and where government can assist and intervene, we'll do so, but it's probably best if we don't go down this road.
And the head of the state's Mineral Resources Department, Lynn Helms, spoke with the commission yesterday afternoon recommending that they deny the request. He told KX News that the testimony in May did not support the idea that waste was occurring in the state. Helms says that he thinks the commission made the right decision yesterday.
Rather than the market and the productivity of the well determining what their royalty check was going to look like or what the tax revenue to the state was going to look like, the Industrial Commission would be dictating what each individual well was allowed to produce, and that would limit everybody's royalty check, and it would limit the tax revenues to the state.
And those who disagree with Tuesday's decision have 30 days to appeal in district court, but that is not expected to happen at this time.
Those in the ethanol business are slamming the Trump administration's decision to roll back President Obama-era vehicle mileage standards. The decision, called the Safer, Affordable, Fuel-Efficient Vehicles Rule, or SAFE, will require automakers to achieve 1.5% annual increases in fuel efficiency through 2026. That number is down from a 5% increase the Obama administration had ordered. The North Dakota Farmers Union issued a scathing statement saying, quote, "The decision is bad for the environment and bad for farmers who grow renewable energy year after year," unquote.
We would have helped farmers, we would have helped consumers, and we would have helped the environment all at once burning a renewable fuel. So it just seems odd that we would not do that.
Supporters of the plan say it'll result in more affordable cars and trucks, but those on the other side say you'll never see the difference because you will be spending more in gas money in the long run.
Right, well, definitely lots to consider there.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on. There's still plenty of news and weather ahead on Good Day Dakota, including
when every second counts, how a new radio system could be just what every law enforcement agency needs in the state.
And Amber will have your full weather forecast in just a bit.
Watching Good Day Dakota with Josh Meny, Alicia Huck, and weather with meteorologist Amber Wheeler. Good Day Dakota on KX News, putting North Dakota first.